right-wing influencers are turning on Trump, even some who campaigned with him, because they don't like his latest actions or his words.
I don't know about you, but I am sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human?
You see, Trump has a MAGA problem, and the Iran war made it worse, including this Easter Sunday social media post demanding Iran open the effing Strait of Hormuz.
To send out a tweet with the F word on Easter morning promising the murder of civilians and then saying praise be to Allah without explaining any of it, you are mocking me and every other Christian because we're Christians. We can't support that.
And when Trump wrote "A whole civilization will die tonight," it prompted calls for the 25th Amendment to be invoked.
How do we 25th Amendment his ass?
Tackle Trump and let him pretend he's president and publicly report that he's going through a health issue and Vance take over. It literally needs to be something like that. It's that bad.
Removal is unlikely, but this could be a problem for Trump and Republicans ahead of the midterm elections this fall. Trump was reelected because he built a coalition of right-wing figures, conspiracy theorists, and agitators. Some in that movement are already angry about the lack of transparency around the Epstein files and the high cost of living. A war, when Trump promised no new wars, adds to that frustration. If they're disenfranchised, they may not show up to vote, which could make it harder for Republicans to retain control of Congress.
The Trump that you're just experiencing now, to your deep disappointment and dismay, is the dude we've been dealing with the whole time. You just didn't realize it because he's been nice to you. Like when you've had a terrible tragedy.
My administration's doing everything in its power to help Texas.
We gave them all the money, all the help that they can possibly use. We've given them we've maxed out, and we'll continue to max out.
Whatever you need, Daddy's here. Because you're the child he wanted. But we're Eric. And this, truly just a weird cheap shot. This is how we get treated.
I don't think we should give California anything.
I mean, if I give California money, then every state that didn't vote for me will think I'm their president too. That's not a precedent I want to set. Whether it's natural disasters or tariff carve-outs or immigration enforcement or a million other issues, Trump's MAGA base always benefits from favorable treatment. Except now. They're finally understanding what it's like to be the target of his hostility.
I did believe that the election was stolen. I believe that the riots were actually, those were patriots. Until I actually switched off Fox News and started getting my news from other places, my information, that's when it finally hit.
Diversifying their news turned out to be a common factor in leaving MAGA.
I met my now husband in 2021, and they made me watch a documentary on January 6th, and I didn't even know what happened on January 6th prior to the PBS documentary. And I looked at him and I said, "Scott, did that really happen?" And he was like, "Where have you been?"
It's not easy to believe something firmly and then come to the conclusion that you've been wrong for many years. Was that hard for you?
Yes, yeah. That was something that I just couldn't square because I couldn't be wrong.
They literally cut my food stamp card off. Zero balance. They took everything. So I told my husband, and he says to me, as I'm crying, and he says to me, "Well, maybe you'll lose some weight now." God, why did I vote for him? I didn't know this was going to happen. I can't go get a job. Is there anybody out there that can help me, please?
Well, what do we have here? Not the brunette sister of the Princess Bride albino crying about food stamps. I'm even gonna skip past your husband's toxic energy. Talk about the fact you can't just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I did manage to go through this creator's account, and boy, honey, you are on TikTok a lot. There are so many reposts. You know what you could do with all that time if you stop being on TikTok? You'd probably get a job. What's crazy about this algorithm is that sometimes you end up on the wrong side of TikTok, and you weren't on our side of TikTok where we were telling you Donald Trump does not care about poor people. Asking for help is wild. You have over 100,000 followers somehow on this account, so you're monetizing this content. You know what you're doing. This is giving, well, this is actually giving exactly the people that Donald Trump wants to cut off, the people who want handouts. Meanwhile, there's immigrants and people that are working hard to contribute to this country, but no, you just want to be able to stay at home. You know what? I send you my concepts of thoughts and prayers, and I guess also concepts of food stamps. And also, dump your husband.
The Leaving MAGA movement is taking hold for some people, and these are their voices. Stephanie Messina became a Christian nationalist in 2014, only a few years after she began her career as a pediatric respiratory therapist.
We were watching his addresses, and contrary to everything that I had been taught, being a trained respiratory therapist and working in one of the finest institutions in the country, I wasn't masking, and I was falling in line with all of these anti-science ideas.
Now, as a mom to 5 boys, Messina sees that a slippery slope led her into the Make America Great Again movement.
It isn't about Christianity, it's about control. MAGA is not about Jesus. I did 3 years of really hard work because I knew I needed to change. I knew that my wounds from my childhood, the Christian rights, Christian by name only, by the way, Christian nationalism, I will say it all day long, is Christian in name only, in name only.
Rich Logis considered himself a true MAGA supporter, but after the Republican response to the mass shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, he decided enough was enough.
When I was in the MAGA community myself, we had a fantasy of killing the Republican Party and making it a MAGA party. And I think it is safe to say that that fantasy is now a reality, and that the GOP, whatever it was before 2015, no longer exists.
Since then, Logis set up a community for those who have left MAGA or those afraid to leave. He connected with Stephanie Messina after she posted about her departure on social media. They've been working together since.
MAGA is as addictive as nicotine. A lot of, well-meaning people on the left will say it's so pathetic that MAGA people don't wake up until something terrible happens to them. And I'm like, but it's so very human. It's so very human to need a wake-up call.
I've learned a lot about how much bravery it takes for someone to acknowledge publicly that they made a mistake, that they were wrong, that they acknowledge those errors, and that they want to make amends for any statements, actions, or rhetoric that may have harmed others.
I've been a MAGA supporter from the very beginning. I believed in him. I thought that he would end wars, like he said in his campaign. He said he wouldn't start wars. He said he'd bring peace to the Middle East. Now look at us. We're further from peace and closer to catastrophe than ever before. I feel so betrayed.
Even in 2026, there are some MAGA voters who are just realizing the con.
Today's a day that I'm feeling a lot of remorse for having supported Trump and MAGA. It's a stark reminder to me about the remorse, regret, and some of the guilt that I feel over having supported Trump and MAGA, not just as a mere voter, but someone who was an activist, who was a pundit, who worked on the Trump campaign, who donated to the Trump campaign, someone who was an unapologetic and public Trump and MAGA supporter as I was. I made a mistake, and I would ask all of you out there who right now have MAGA friends and relatives, I think a lot of them are starting to feel some regret. I think a lot of them are starting to privately and quietly have their own doubts, their own confusion, maybe questioning their beliefs. Maybe they're feeling a little bit guilt themselves about having supported Trump.
He fooled me, he fooled most people I know. He's very cunning, very conniving, and very, very good at getting what he wants and convincing people to do what he wants. Our country is going in the wrong direction. It is not looking good, especially for the lower income people in this country. Prices just keep going up and up and up. I have not seen one thing go down. Everything is going up drastically. 20 years old, and I heard someone making $200,000 a year. I'm like, that's a doctor. That's somebody got a great job. They're doing great in life. And now in the year 2026, if you make $150,000 a year, you're having to budget. You're having to stretch your money. The American dream isn't dead, isn't dying. It's gone. It's gone. And it was taken from us by a bunch of billionaires who wanted a few more zeros on their income and are willing to ruin the lives of every single American citizen to do it. They are selfish, they are greedy, and they are evil.
How do folks who could see the game Trump played all along feel about dudes like this?
But to all the people who are now saying, I want my vote back because Donald Trump deported your spouse, go f*** yourself. You didn't care about anybody else. The suffering of people didn't matter when it wasn't happening to you. But now that it's you, now it's a problem. And to those people, to those prominent MAGA voices like Frog Boy and the Sambo twins who are now going, I didn't support this. He's protecting PDF files. F*** you. Even more than the last group. Because yes, you did support it. And you're full of you're lying just to appeal to your audience who are losing their Go f*** yourselves twice over. That's all I gotta say.
The short answer, it varies.
I've looked, but I can't find any compassion for Trump voters who now claim to have been duped because he said no new foreign wars, and you're in a foreign war. He said prices would go down. Oh, prices have gone up. No one can even afford gas. But here's the thing. You voted for a liar, and you were okay with him being a liar. But now that he's lied to you, you're mad. Yeah, I still can't find any compassion.
If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
We're not in the cult. The outside world is the cult.
Having doubts? You are not alone. That is the message former Trump supporters are putting on billboards across America.
I realized because MAGA is a community itself, to leave, I thought that I should build a community for people who also decide to leave.
MAGA was never just an ideology. For many of them, it became a way of coping with fear, loneliness, disappointment, and the desperate need to belong.
And what MAGA does provide is a place where people feel seen and heard and recognized, and they're validated.
It offered simple answers, convenient enemies, and a father figure who promised that everything would be all right as long as they stayed loyal, stopped asking questions, and blamed somebody else whenever another promise fell apart.
It sounds like you're talking often about a cult, but he's the president of the United States, and it's not a cult. It's the dominant political ideology of the United States in this moment.
It's not that you're dumb. You were fooled. That's incredibly hard to admit.
But admitting you were fooled can feel like pulling one card from the bottom of the entire house. If the election was not stolen, if January 6th was not patriotism, if the experts were not all lying, then what else did they do wrong? But the people in leaving MAGA finally reached a point where being honest mattered more than being right. They switched off the propaganda, let new information into their lives, and asked the one question the movement cannot survive. What if I was wrong? So when someone begins questioning the conspiracies and looking for the exit, keep the door open, because people can change. Having doubts? You are not alone. And that is an absolute fact.
Republicans are not the party of working class Americans. They are the party of the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. Stop lying to the American people. Donald Trump's one big ugly bill rips health care away from more than 17 million Americans. It represents the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Children will be hurt. Families will be hurt. Women will be hurt. Seniors will be hurt. Everyday Americans with disabilities will be hurt. Hospitals will close. Nursing homes will shut down. And community-based health clinics will be unable to provide services. This dangerous and extreme Republican budget will result in Americans losing their lives because of the inability to access health care coverage. It's unacceptable, unconscionable, and un-American. Shame on Senate Republicans for passing this disgusting abomination, and shame on House Republicans for continuing to bend the knee to Donald Trump's extreme agenda. This one big ugly bill represents the largest cut to nutritional assistance in American history. Extreme MAGA Republicans are literally ripping food out of the mouths of children, veterans, and seniors And all of this is being done to provide massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors. Republicans claim to be the party of working class Americans. You are not. You are hurting working class Americans. This bill won't make life more affordable for the American people. It will make life more expensive, including dramatically raising energy costs, which are already too high. At the same period of time, doing nothing, nada, zilch, zero, to lower the high cost of living in this country. Donald Trump and Republicans claim that they will lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down. In fact, they're going up in America. And this dangerous and extreme Republican budget, Trump's one big ugly bill, the GOP tax scam, this disgusting abomination will set in motion a potential economic death spiral by increasing the nation's debt by more than $3 trillion. And yet these phonies on the Republican side of the aisle claim to be fiscally responsible. Get lost. House Democrats are going to do everything we can over the next few hours, today, tomorrow, for the balance of this week and beyond, to stop this bill from ever becoming law.
Across the United States, a growing political divide is raising a difficult question. Are some Trump voters being pushed out of parts of American society because of their political beliefs? Supporters of President Donald Trump have increasingly described experiences of political hostility, workplace tensions, social pressure, and disagreements with businesses and communities. But how widespread is this really? And is America entering a new era where political identity can determine where people feel welcome? The issue goes far beyond elections. For millions of Americans, supporting Trump is not simply a vote. It can represent views on immigration, the economy, crime, government spending, national sovereignty, and the direction of the country. But those same political positions have also made Trump's supporters a target of intense criticism from political opponents. In some communities, political disagreements have spilled into personal relationships, workplaces, schools, and local organizations. People who openly identify as Trump supporters may find themselves facing criticism or social isolation from people who strongly disagree with them. At the same time, it is important to separate political controversy from claims that businesses are systematically refusing service to Trump voters. There have been individual incidents involving political disagreements between customers, employees, business owners, and organizations. However, that does not automatically mean that American businesses as a whole are refusing to serve Trump supporters. The bigger story may actually be the growing political polarization affecting everyday American life. America has become increasingly divided into political camps, with each side viewing the other not simply as an opponent, but sometimes as a threat to the country itself. Trump supporters argue that they are being unfairly stereotyped, silenced, or excluded because of their political beliefs. Critics of Trump, meanwhile, argue that their opposition is a legitimate response to his policies and political movement. This creates a dangerous cycle. The more Americans identify strongly with one political side, the more difficult it becomes to have normal conversations with people on the other side. And businesses and communities are not immune to this conflict. Political identity can influence where people shop, what companies they support, which media they consume, and even who they trust. That is why this story matters. The question is not simply whether Trump voters are being cut off. The deeper question is whether political identity is becoming so powerful in America that citizens are beginning to live in completely separate social and economic worlds. If that trend continues, the consequences could extend far beyond Trump himself. Because when political disagreement turns into social exclusion, the divide between Americans becomes much harder to repair. And with another major election cycle ahead, the question is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Can Americans with completely different political beliefs still live, work, and do business together?